She's one of the most influential feminist writers of our time, beginning with the book Backlash. But it's Susan Faludi's latest book that's causing a stir tonight.
It all began with an email that delivered astounding news from her estranged father. Melissa Cain on the message that gave the Pulitzer Prize winner a new perspective on what it means to be a woman.
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Susan Faludi. She says growing up under a violent macho father led her to embrace the women's movement.
Because my father had been so overbearing and domineering and violent to my mother, wouldn't let my mother work.
25 years ago, Faludi wrote a best-selling book.
If this is feminism, it's feminism with a vengeance.
In Backlash, the undeclared war against American women, Faludi tracked a media-driven campaign against certain advances made by feminism in the 70s. Now, the attack included promoting the idea of the mommy track.
It is discriminatory and just an excuse for paying women less.
Yeah, and look at how little has changed. It's
Fast forward to a different kind of gender issue.
I received in 2004 this email from my father.
On the subject line, a single word: changes.
It was a complete surprise.
Faludi had barely spoken to her father in a quarter century. Now, big news. Her 76-year-old father, Stefan, was now Stephanie. Her dad had undergone gender reassignment surgery.
Here is my father, who had sparked my feminism, going on about how wonderful it is to be a woman.
The revelation sent Faludi on an extraordinary journalistic quest.
My father said, "Write my story."
She did, and ended up writing about the meaning of identity in the modern world.
Not just gender, but nationality, politics, religion.
The memoir, called In the Dark Room, details the shifting identities, dark histories, and the dangerous politics that shaped her father's life.
I think of my father as a kind of identity zealot, because she went through so many of those kind of marquee struggles around identity.
Her father was a Jewish child during the Holocaust who impersonated a Christian to survive. He ultimately came to New York, married, and became a suburban dad. He worked as a professional photographer, retouching photographs. He then returned to his native Budapest, where he became a big supporter of the current right-wing regime. Then he became a woman.
As much as people like to think of it as singular and stable, what I saw with my father was an identity that was, multiple and fluid.
Faludi poses this question: is identity something you choose, or is it the very thing you cannot escape? A critical question today in a world where nationalism is on the rise, many times at the expense of others.
Susan Faludi's father died in Budapest in May 2015. She had been suffering from dementia. The cause of death? It still remains unclear. In San Francisco, Melissa Cain, KPIX 5.
Wow, Susan's from New York. Yeah, it's an extraordinary story. And she was a Knight Fellow at Stanford 24 years ago, right when Backlash had come out.
Yeah.
And what an amazing story.
Absolutely. I wanted to see more and more and more. So
well, you can read about it.
Great interview. Oh.